Well, hello, Claire. It's great to see you again after a couple of years. I guess the last time we met was in 2019 when we celebrated City Nation Place Latin America here in Costa Rica. If I'm not mistaken, I think we had around 80 people representing 25 nation brands, and we had a great event. So it's great to see you again.
It's lovely to see you, Jorge, and I look forward to coming back to Costa Rica again. I had a wonderful time with you.
Well, hopefully this pandemic will be over within the next few months, certainly, hopefully within the next year, and you can come and visit us again. So Claire, it's always a learning experience to listen to your chats and to your presentations, and it was great to hear you talk about how corporate brands can leverage nation brands for commercial purposes. Certainly something that we at Essential Costa Rica took very seriously from the beginning. And we were so honored that in 2019, your jury awarded the City Nation Place Award and the Place Brand Strategy of the Year to Essential Costa Rica. Can you comment a little bit on what were some of those success factors that you saw in Essential Costa Rica to honor us with that award?
Absolutely. So we have a few categories in the City Nation Place Awards. We look at communication strategy, we look at use of data, we look at use of design, identity. But the Place Brand Strategy of the Year category is where we're looking for a city or a nation or a region who's brought all of that together, who's taken a long-term view and who's built a foundation for a place brand that will stand the test of time. And it was really clear to us that Costa Rica has done that, and that your place brand strategy is built on this really clear set of values, and that you use those values as the guide stone for all of your actions and your strategies. And I think the other thing that impressed us as well, at City Nation Place, our objective is to bring together all of the key stakeholders in a region. So those who are responsible for attracting tourism, those who are responsible for attracting investment, or who are in charge of foreign policy or trade. And it was really clear to us that in Costa Rica, all of those ministries, all of the stakeholders were aligned to the same vision and to the same values. And so for us, that made you a really worthy winner that year.
Well, that's great, Claire, and thank you for those kind words. In fact, I will share with you that when we were deciding how to allow companies to use the nation brand, it was a tough decision. We studied brands that allowed anyone to use it. You could basically just download it from the website and any company could just use that nation brand. We had other cases of countries that decided that only state institutions and government institutions were allowed to use the nation brand. And we said, no, we obviously want companies to use and corporate branding and for tourism to use this nation brand, for their purposes as well. So the way we reached that happy medium was to create this protocol based on our 5 core values for the nation brand. And then through that protocol and through independent consultants, they would have to prove that they were sort of, to say, worthy of using our nation brand, publicly and globally. Those values, as you I'm sure know very well, are excellence, sustainability, innovation, social progress, and Costa Rican rooting. Today, we have almost 600 companies, in fact, over 600 companies, which have been licensed. And of those, about 70% are corporate brands. So we consider this to be a very successful branding and a very successful protocol in order to make sure that all these companies that are using our nation brand are truly worthy of that and are good representatives of those 5 values. In your experience, Claire, which have been the toughest challenges that you've seen in countries to unify this, this nation brand together with the corporate and making sure that they make a good use of it?
Well, it's tough because we don't see many countries doing it well, and we don't really hear from them. What's getting in the way. If I were to hazard a guess at what's stopping this from working effectively in some places, is that there is a view that the nation brand is for an external audience. It's all about managing the reputation of the country for international markets and for abroad. And actually, the people who live within that country and the people who work within that country or who run businesses within that country may not even be aware of what messaging is going out to international audiences. And so where what we would describe as best practice is the approach that you've taken, which is to start with that internal focus and to ensure that companies are on board with your values and are working to achieve them within their own organizations, and then present that unified message abroad. So I think that's the answer, really. I think too many people look outwards first and forget to look inwards.
Right. No, I completely agree with you. So, in our case, we're lucky to have some very nice success stories of companies achieving, for example, 100% of renewable energy, or companies using water-soluble packaging, companies that started off as local artisans and today are important sources of employment in their communities, companies that are using the essential seal for more than just promoting the products and services, but in fact promoting services in something new because the country brand has allowed them to leverage that brand internationally. And I love to hear the stories you shared with us from Finland and Germany and South Korea and Sweden and so many other countries that are doing it well. Why do you see some of the ongoing challenges for companies in terms of how they can add value for the businesses through the nation brand strategy?
I mean, I think I'd rather talk about the opportunities than the challenges. The challenges are going to be to do with that corporation's own structure or leadership team, I guess, in terms of how they implement any policy. But I think the opportunities are really clear. And, we see management consultants and researchers analysing corporate performance around the world and identifying that companies who have a clear purpose or value and who communicate that to their employees and to their customers do better in terms of profits and growth than those who don't have clear values. And so the opportunity is that if you can align your values with the nation brand, then you're emphasizing that message, if you like. It's a shorthand to show the rest of the world what your corporate values are if you're clearly aligned with the nation's brand values. So I think I would look at it there, more as that opportunity. And I think the challenges are just going to be down to individual organizations and how they implement anything, to be honest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I think this is very aligned with what we were thinking when we decided on this protocol, that it had to be a tool to help particularly SMEs increase their competitiveness internationally. That this seal would allow them to tell the world, that I represent these 5 core values that we talked about, including innovation and social progress and excellence, to help them, go up that value chain, and that credibility that they need to have outside of our borders. Again, this is most important for SMEs. I think we have been very successful that in terms of, companies come back at us and tell us, this has been some of the best experiences that I've had as a businesswoman or as a businessman in improving the competitiveness and the level of my company, thanks to this protocol. So I think that you're right. This is really, how companies internally decide to make the best of this nation brand they use.
Yeah, I would say so, very much.
So, in closing, Claire, what challenges do you see ahead for the nation brand Essential Costa Rica and the companies that have licensed it?
Well, that's a tricky question, but I think what we see is that Costa Rica, or Essential Costa Rica, was one of the first nation brands to build your brand on sustainability and sustainability credentials, and to align with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, what we see now, for all the right reasons, are many other countries and many other global organizations and corporates aligning their strategies with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And whilst it's brilliant that everybody's doing that for the planet, it obviously might have an impact on that competitive advantage that positioning has given to Costa Rica and to your licensees. But I think you're going to be okay, because it's so, your brand is built on these really clear protocols and this really clear expression and of your brand values and a really clear narrative. And those who are coming a little bit later to the party, they've got some catching up to do to ensure that they have that authentic voice behind what they're saying they're going to do. So I think you have that advantage, and I guess as long as you as a brand team and as long as all of your licensees commit and stay committed to those protocols and work towards those protocols, then that authentic voice is going to continue to give you the competitive advantage.
I completely agree with you. And it's one of those cases of do as you say and say as you do, right?
100%. Yeah.
Claire, it's always great to see you. It's always fascinating to hear you talk about these topics and all the challenges and opportunities that a nation brand offers, corporate brands. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with us all your thoughts and advice. And if you have any final comment, glad to hear it, or any final advice for licensee companies, that'd be great. And really, again, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I think, the other thing we talk about all the time at City Nation Place is about collaboration. And what we see in Costa Rica is this really strong collaboration between the Nation Brand team and your licensees. So my advice would be just to carry on with that. And I really hope that we see you and some of your colleagues at the next City Nation Place Global Conference, which is happening in person. How exciting is that, in London in November? So I hope we see you there, Jorge.
Well, I hope so too. Thank you so much for giving me this space. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I'm sure it'll be of great use to all our licensees. Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.